Hi everyone, it's Rachel and Anthony.
Hello.
From Don't Crop Me Now. We usually do our plot tours at the end of the month, but at the end of July the weather was terrible and raining nearly every day. So it's the start of August and we're going to give you a tour around our two plots in South Manchester. And we're starting in the middle this time of plot 4, and plot 4 is the plot that we've had the longest, and this is actually one of my favourite areas of the plot, and that's because when I sit in my summer house I get this perfect view of these beautiful flowers, and for me it often feels like that I'm in the middle of a garden, not just an allotment. We do grow quite a lot of flowers. It's brilliant for cutting and also for pollinators, but we try to make sure that we're getting all that veg in too. And this lavender has done amazing this year. It smells absolutely beautiful and there's always bees buzzing around. So that makes me really happy. But squeezed in front of here, you can see we've got some courgettes. And these courgettes are not doing amazing. They are starting to yellow a little, and that's really with the wet weather that we've had. And although it's very sunny today, the temperatures haven't been amazing. But these courgettes were planted really, really late. I was hoping that we'd get the later season smaller courgettes, because often by this time of year we're on giant marrows. And unfortunately, because of that, we haven't had any courgettes yet, which is quite disappointing. But they have had some flowers on, and I think if we get some days with periods of sun like this, those pollinators will get to those flowers and we will get some fruits. Just behind here, we have a strawberry patch which is looking absolutely brilliant, and I will be definitely taking lots of runners from these strawberries over probably maybe this month, maybe into September. You can see just around me that they are definitely starting to flow out with the runners now, and they look really healthy. Just behind here, the raspberries are also really taking off. They certainly need tying up, so that's a job that we will need to get onto. But the fruits, they're really big this year and they're starting to ripen quite early, and that's probably because of the weather. It's very confusing for the plants. This is an autumn type of raspberry called Autumn Bliss. It shouldn't really be coming on until maybe end of September, October sort of time, and we've got lots of fruits actually on these raspberry plants already. We've got some sunflowers, and I am about 5'3", so they're not massive this year. They went in quite late, but they're still looking pretty nice, and hopefully we'll get some flowers on these. Our little pond is however liking the rain, and the pond is looking quite healthy. It's got some really nice plants in, particularly those lilies. It's a bit of a mixed bag with the Bramley apple tree. There are some good fruits on there. Last year we actually had the worst harvest we'd ever had and had hardly any fruits on this tree. We normally get wheelbarrows full of fruit. And this year there's some good fruit on there. It has been doing a good drop, a bit late. Normally a lot of the drop is in June, but this has started to drop really later in July really for us. And there are some really good quality fruit on there. There's some fruit that are starting to rot a little bit, which we're having to go over and check. And there's also some really funny wrinkly fruit on, and I do not know what that is. So if you've got any idea what might be wrong with the apples on this Bramley tree, then do post in the comments and let us know. However, not all is lost, because most of the fruit is looking quite healthy and we still should get a good crop from this tree. The multi-sown leeks and kohlrabi are coming on really well, and I think some of those kohlrabi should come into harvest pretty soon. I am happy with the leeks. They seem to be growing to a reasonable size. We don't normally multi-sow leeks here, but I've done this as a main, just because we had so many, I wanted to try and use the space as efficiently as we can, and I'm quite pleased with how it's going so far. The seed collecting has been going really well for us this year despite the wet weather, and the parsnips have done brilliant. As you can see behind me, there's still loads of seed that is drying out, but we have collected a huge amount of seed so far, and we're going to be distributing a lot of this seed as part of our actions on our community plot at our allotment site. One of the things that we have done this month is a lot of work on sorting out this pergola and seating area at this end near the summer house. So this pergola used to have a roof over the top, which we used to collect water into a smaller water butt that was just situated just here. Unfortunately, these storms did the best job of the roof, and most of it came off, so we had to sort that out. We decided in the end to just remove the roof, allow these climbing plants to climb over the top. We might put a few more other plants, climbing plants on there. We've put all the hanging baskets up, and we decided now to put the picnic bench right under here, and it's created quite a nice little seating area and given us a bit more room at this end of the plot. So overall, I'm really happy with that. Remember, your allotment is to sit and enjoy, not just to grow your vegetables. So that's why we like to have these areas as well as our growing areas on our allotment. The dahlias are massive. So they are certainly taller than me, and so the support structure that we put in early in the year is doing a great job, and these are going crazy. At this time of year, it's so important to keep on top of deadheading your dahlias. So for example, here we have got a flower that's gone completely over. It's important to keep removing these. I find it really hard to keep on top of that, but one of our plot neighbours, Rob, he absolutely loves cut flowers, and he's just got free rein to come and take any of our cut flowers at any time. That keeps on top of the deadheading for us, which is brilliant, a job done, and it's also nice to share as well. And the rhubarb is loving the rain as well. I'm going to pick an absolute load of this weekend. We have got some volunteers from a local charitable organisation that feeds the homeless that's coming to collect some of the food off the community plot, and I think I'm going to see if they will take a load of this rhubarb as well. We have our allotment show in a couple of weeks, so I want to really crop from this so it will get going for that last major harvest in time for the allotment show. Now, slugs have been more of a problem this year than for years that I can remember. I think that's just because it's been so wet, but it doesn't seem to have affected these beans too badly. They still have certainly set pods. I am growing these ones particularly just to boost up our seed collection. That's why they've been left to go over, but you can really see that the slugs have had a good go of the plants, which for us on bean plants is really quite unusual. We have harvested a good proportion of our onions. This is our last main onion bed that's in. We've got a bed just to my right, and we've also got a bed that was on plot 5B that we have fully harvested, and those are at home drying in the greenhouse. But we have got the shallots and the remaining onions still in here. They're just about at picking time. I'd left these ones in because they were slightly smaller than the others, and they're still looking okay. They're just at the stage that they're falling over, so we need to get those out and into storage, and they will feed us all winter. The sweet peas have been growing up this climbing arch and look quite nice, but a lot of them are going to seed like on here. I haven't been keeping up with pulling these seeds off, so I'm undecided now whether I'm just going to let them continue to go to the seed and collect the seed from the pods, or I'm going to have a really vigorous go over them this weekend to see if we can keep them flowering for a few weeks yet. But it smells great under here. And on another of the giant vegetable structures, this bean frame is absolutely huge. I can't even reach anywhere near the top of this frame, and it's absolutely covered with leaves, flowers, and a setting of really small, beautiful beans. Although we do have some crops that are doing amazing, you always have things that are finishing off and don't look brilliant on your allotment or haven't done that well. And there's a couple of examples here. We have got this was actually the spring cabbage, but it didn't heart up in time, and I think I mentioned in the previous video I just left this to grow. We've had a number of decent cabbages off this, and we haven't had any of our summer cabbages yet, so that was quite surprising. I uncovered it, and unbelievably the pigeons haven't eaten this, but the cabbage whites have most definitely got in. I'm not too worried about that. I'm happy for them to just have a little bit of these leaves, and I do need to pull most of these out on compost. What we were doing is leaving this last one here to go to seed, and it's been absolutely unbelievable. This has been going to seed for I think at least the last 3 months, and those seed pods are still green. They are taking ages to dry out, but I am not going to be deterred. I'm really trying to make sure we collect these seeds, so I am going to leave that one in. I think I'll get the rest of these out. There are a few decent leaves on there we may cut with, but the rest will go on the compost. And just in front of this we have got spinach, which has completely gone to seed. I didn't even get a harvest off that. It just went to seed in the hot weather with the hot and then the rain, and that was it. Onto one of the root beds, and this again is another success and failure. Our carrots are looking amazing in this carrot structure. We have pulled a few and they were absolutely brilliant. They're just at the point they're starting to thicken up now into good roots. So I think we're going to get a really good and healthy carrot crop this year. However, the parsnips are a different story. And we decided this year that we were going to do that age-old method that's taught about a lot, where you sow your parsnips and then you put radish in to mark the rows. But the radish just grew so big, they absolutely outcompeted the parsnips, and the amount of parsnips we have left is very, very sad. So I'm really pleased we did collect all that parsnip seed from last year's parsnips, and we've still got loads in the freezer because we are going to have hardly any. I think there are a few, we might get enough for Christmas dinner, fingers crossed, but I don't think we're going to have much in terms of storage for parsnips this year. And we're now on to the potatoes, and again, there's good and bad with these. I do think we're going to get a great crop. These are the Charlotte potatoes, and they are just starting to die down. There is not actually much sign of blight on these sets of potatoes. We have had to cut down all the potatoes on the community plot because they had blight, and it's completely across the whole allotment ground. But these ones seem to have dodged it a little bit so far. We're still going to chop the tops off these because they are dying down, ready for harvest anyway, and the frame has done a great job of supporting them. And Anthony, we were just chatting, we were saying these sunflowers are lovely. We have 2 random sunflowers that are in 2 random potato pots, but you know what, they look quite nice, quite happy for that. Another happy flower on our allotment. Looking behind us here, these are our main crop potatoes, and as you can see, they're not too bad. You can't see much sign of blight on here. There is a little bit on the other side because the blight tends to come in from that side of the ground. We are again going to chop these down probably this weekend because the weather is so wet and warm. They will get blighted very, very quickly, but fingers crossed we will have still got a good harvest underneath these that will last us throughout the winter. Just a quick note before we move on, we have never seen so many potato seeds as from this season. So if you do get these things that look like tomatoes on your potatoes, please don't eat them because they are highly poisonous. And these are the seeds of the potatoes. We normally grow potatoes that come from the tubers, that's how we tend to grow them. But potato breeders do actually use these seeds to try and get the new varieties, but please do not eat them. The squash have really grown big and they have nearly filled this bed, and this is just 2 squash plants. We don't seem to have any squash that have quite set on these yet. These plants did go in quite late. I'm not worried about that, they're looking really healthy. We should get some fruits on these. I have managed to turn the vines in as they grow out to try and confine it to the bed this year, which is a success because half the time by this time they are climbing all over the other beds, so that's got to be a win. Just behind me here we have more bean plants, and these are looking good now. We had to make some really late sowings to fill out particularly these first 2 wigwams because we had really poor germination in beans. We also had lots of coriander that came up self-seeded from a bed that was just further over that side, but it came up all over the paths and all over this area where the beans are, and I left some of it in because I wanted to leave that for the pollinators, and also we can collect the seed from that. But in itself it's actually quite a pretty plant, and you can eat the seeds when they are green as well, and it's quite a delicacy, so I'm quite happy to leave those, and they are growing really like a companion plant within the beans. And here we have the giant cabbage and the not so giant cabbage. So we put 2 giant cabbage plants in here, and as you can see that one, it's not started to heart up yet. We did plant it in quite late. However, this little one here doesn't look like it's doing much at all. So they are definitely currently little and large. We have sweetcorn, well we certainly have sweetcorn plants. They are setting the tassels, so they're at the point of pollination. Will we get any sweetcorn this year? Only time will tell. It's been a number of years since I've actually got any edible sweetcorn because the squirrels always come and eat the cobs, but I'm not defeated. I'm still giving it another go. We will see what happens this year. There's quite a lot of cobs that are setting, so if they get pollinated, then who knows. This is looking at plot 4 from the front, and the flower border is looking okay. There's quite a lot of different things in there. There's a few weeds really within this as well, but overall it's looking all right, and it gives a nice front to the plot. We are over onto plot 2B, which is our fruit and composting area with the polytunnel, and we have been composting these blighted potato plants, it's absolutely fine to do that. I would recommend to try and cover up the majority of them with another material like we have done here, just because if they sit on the top like it is, for example with this side here, then the wind's obviously going to pick the spores up and spread them around. That's not a problem for your potato plants because if they're out, but obviously it may be a problem for other people's potato plants, so it's a good idea really to cover them up. Behind us in the fruit cage there is quite a lot of activity, so let's go and have a look. We definitely need to get harvested in here. As you can see, this is one of our blueberry plants and they are completely covered with massive berries. I'm going to just try one now actually, 2 of them. They are great, really fruity and juicy actually. So we're going to have a brilliant crop. Hopefully you can see in the background we've also got a great crop of Victoria plums. So let's have a look here. They are just starting to ripen up here. So they're not completely ripe, they're sort of semi-ripe, but this tree is absolutely laden with fruit. And I'm going to look forward to getting this harvest. We have more strawberries that are bidding for freedom. Again here, loads and loads of runners. This was actually just originally 12 strawberry plants on this bed. So you can see what happens. They are flying out in this direction and out through the fruit cage and into the surrounding area under the fig tree as well. So this is a different variety to the one that's on plot 4. We would definitely take some of these runners. These are really quite big, large, really large and juicy strawberry fruits. So we would definitely want to take runners from here. Our other plum tree is starting to ripen up. These are not ripe yet, but they are starting, again, a bit like the Victoria plum, to get some colour on. And this is the first time we've ever had any fruit on this particular tree. And oh my God, I don't know if I could be more excited about this, but I did spy when we were in the fruit cage that the figs are starting to ripen up. I love figs and they are massive. And I'm just going to pick one to show you here. The size of some of these figs, that is perfect for harvesting now. And look at that, absolutely beautiful. I'm going to try this one as well. Might not need any tea actually when we go home. It could be a tiny bit more ripe, but it's still very sweet. You can see some of them are on the plant are definitely fully ripe. Try not to leave them on too long because if they get very overripe, the wasps absolutely love them. But this is very nice. It'll be really good with some wine and cheese, I think. The other trees on here haven't got as good harvest really. We do have some of these little pears. I can't remember what the variety of these ones. It was a French variety of pear. And we still need to deal with that cherry tree in the background. That needs to happen pretty soon. And we also need to get doing some summer pruning on some of our apple trees, the Bramley certainly, and this one up here, which you can see all the top growth is going straight up. That all needs to come off. It's a great time of year to tip prune your apple and pear trees, which will increase your fruiting for next year. Now, for many years, we have had the chilli house, which is the greenhouse we predominantly grow chilies in. But it seems that this year, that this polytunnel is become the basil house. It smells amazing in here, and we've got lots of different types of basil. I want to make huge amounts of pesto and freeze that over the winter. I didn't manage to get a lot of things planted early enough in here, so it was a great opportunity to fill this with basil plants. And talking about the chilli house, here I am in the chilli house, and again look at some of these plants. They're just about as tall as me. They've got loads of flowers on, so even though we got these plants in late, I still think we are going to get a great crop of chilies. The luffa plants behind me here, they have loads of embryonic fruit on. I don't know if they are going to set, but it's just an experiment, and it is starting to climb up along my string structure, which is quite promising. So it looks quite pretty. Whether we'll get any fruits will be to see. But the chilies overall are doing pretty well for this time of year. I am in midst of another fruit jungle here. This is our grafted apple tree, and again this certainly needs the tip pruning done on the top because it's going a little bit crazy. But now, really excitingly, you can see that we have got more than one type of apple on this tree. We have some red coloured apples, and then we have some green coloured apples, and there are actually 5 different varieties of apple on this tree. So our grafting project has been successful. Really pleased with this. Hopefully we'll get some apples to eat. Those red ones actually look really, really, really tasty. So hopefully we will get some, and we'll see what those different varieties are like. Because this was growing on quite a large established trunk, that's why we're getting such a big amount of top growth. So we will need to keep that in check, but the grafting itself has been successful. And we talked, didn't we, about slugs getting on beans, which has never really been a problem for us, but there's definitely slugs been having a really good go at the dwarf beans. These are the dwarf hoppy beans that are grown for drying the small little Mexican type beans. And overall, I would say that we're going to get a good crop on these. Despite that, you can definitely see there's a lot of fruit. If Anthony has a look here, you can see that there are a lot of bean pods. It's absolutely full of bean pods, but there is a lot of slug damage. Hopefully that won't affect the crop, fingers crossed, but it's certainly been something that we have noticed this year. Everything is loving and just running to seed really in this weather. But the kale that we had, the overwintering kale that we left to go to seed, this is set a little bit better than the cabbage, and it has started to dry off. That's just below me there. So we will collect some of that seed. In fact, it's just starting to drop the seed, so it's definitely at the right point. We have got more coriander that is going to seed. This is still early enough to pick to use for the leaves. So I think I will take this one and probably maybe freeze it. I don't want to dry anymore because we dried loads last year, so I have quite a lot left. But I think I'm going to freeze that. Maybe we can use it to make something like a green curry paste or some sort of curry paste and use that. And we've got a little bit of rocket that again is going to seed. I think I'm going to try and dry some of that and use it a bit like parsley. Other than that, we've used this bed as a little bit of storage for some of our plants that have been potted up. So it's mainly things like lavender, which I'm actually going to share with my sister, but it's a bit more sort of storage really in this bed. Behind me, we have got more brassicas, and again, they are actually looking really good. And oh my God, we have got calabrese. And when I say calabrese, we have got a lot of calabrese. You're gonna have to come in on this side, Anthony, and have a look at our calabrese. Can you see that? And here, you were just asking what we're going to have for tea. I think we might be having calabrese broccoli. I'm not sure what we're going to have with it, but that massive calabrese is definitely coming home with us tonight. Last month I was having a bit of a moan really about this terrible structure that we put for our cucumbers and how they weren't really climbing up it, and I didn't think I was going to get any cucumbers outside, and I felt it was a bit of a waste really of this bed. But I was wrong, we are getting cucumbers. I will just have a go at this one here. See if I can take this off. It's a good cucumber, so we are getting some cucumbers outside. There's more flowers on this. Behind us here in the cucumber tower, I've taken quite a lot off that, so we are not going short on cucumbers, and they evidently do grow outside. So let's just see what happens over the next month to see if we get a decent crop of these, but that looks like an all right cucumber to me. Behind us we have the beetroot bed. We did harvest some beetroot yesterday and we put in a bit of a coleslaw, so it is coming to a harvestable stage now, and it's actually looking really healthy, which is brilliant. Over here we have harvested onions from this bed, so there's currently nothing in this bed at the moment. We need to decide what we're going to do, whether we are going to sow a green manure on this area. Haven't decided what we're going to do at the moment. We need to get a delivery of manure for mulching for next season, so I might just put the manure straight on. We'll have to see what we think over the next couple of weeks. This flower bed, however, is picking up. These are looking quite good now really, actually, and the carnations. I did manage to pinch them out quite religiously, so hopefully we will get some flowers in here. These should be perennial ones that should sit over the winter in a UK climate, so I'm hoping I don't have to lift these. That's the idea, and hopefully this will become a perennial flower bed on plot 5B. Are you ready for the giant? It's so big I'm struggling to get the secateurs round the base of it to cut it, but still struggling. Wait a minute. Got it. So let's see. Just a little bit more. And this is tonight's dinner, guys. Really pleased with that. So if you have enjoyed the video today, please like, comment, subscribe. It only takes a minute, but it really helps our channel. Happy allotmenteering, everybody.